Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again. You already know we're an hour later than we normally are, but that's because I'm on the road and like we had to make do. Aquarian Anarchy is ready to I don't know, we're gonna like give props to Marjorie Taylor Greene. What the hell is going on? Stay tuned, you want to find out, right? We'll be right back. One of my favorite things to play with when I was little was Play-Doh, and probably because of this quote, good people do not need laws to tell them to act responsibly, while bad people will always find a way around the laws. And that's not Play-Doh, that's Play-Doh. Let's go. All my jokes are dad jokes at this point, so this is the best you're going to get. If you're not laughing already, I have bad news for you. You will not be laughing tonight. So, gentlemen, how much do you love not just Natasha Kayleen, but Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Natasha, a lot. Marjorie Taylor Greene,
not so
once
much.
in a while.
Yeah.
I don't know who she is.
You don't know who MTG is? Oh,
yeah.
So funny story. So you know Quincy.
Yes.
He does some.
Oh my God.
He does some ratchet stuff. Anyway, so he had.
If you haven't seen his episode on here and want to see his man tits, I strongly suggest it.
So anyway, Quincy went off on, like not being Democrat and like not, how you can't pigeonhole me, blah, blah, blah. Just went off, had this whole video diatribe a couple of years ago. And as he's doing that, Marjorie Taylor Greene gets a hold of it. Somebody, retweeted it in her circle or showed it to her. Mm-hmm. So she retweets it. She's like, this is what I'm talking about, blah, blah, blah. Just because you're black, you don't have to be Democrat, whatever. So it's just funny because she retweets him. And I was just like, yo, it's a good thing she didn't scroll because you didn't have to go too far down. And there's Quincy with his nose right between two big old cheeks. And he's like this. Because it's Quincy. That's all I'll say. So
and he's fun.
He's a wild boy.
Yeah, right.
He is a wild man. But anyway, so Marjorie Taylor Greene is the subject or one of the subjects for tonight. I think it's interesting, Marcus. You're asking me about the CBDC. That was one of the pieces of legislation that I was helping either testify at the Louisiana State Legislature or I was helping to craft some legislation around. They ended up not going with my definition of CBDC. I was kind of disappointed in that. I don't know that what they passed is actually going to do anything, and that disheartens me because I really tried to make sure. I was like, look, y'all, this thing has got to be ironclad, otherwise it's very possibly not going to work. But anyway, this whole MTG thing, it's cool that it came together with the stuff that I was doing with the Louisiana State Legislature and one of the activist groups in Louisiana, because it kind of brings together a couple of things. It's almost like an outlet fitting together. So on the one hand, you have like MTG as a U.S. representative who is out there doing the political thing, and we how we feel about like how really relevant politics can be. Sometimes it's
not at all,
and she's a perfect example because a lot of the stuff that she is involved with is window dressing for distractions to keep you off of your game, right?
For sure.
But at the same time, so like then you get to your state legislature and your local city council, board of education, these kinds of things starts to become a lot more important and actually have some direct impact on you. So that's why I've been active there. Then you flip it around. And one of the things that I've been trying to get across to a lot of the people that I'm working with, even within this Louisiana legislature stuff, is so much of what we're fighting has nothing to do with these people. It's not the people. It's not the organizations. It's not the government. It's not the corporations. It's not the CDC. It's like evil spirits. It's demons. It's like nefarious forces that we cannot see that are using those people as puppets. Correct. And so it's interesting because then it dovetails right back into this Marjorie Taylor Greene thing, because that's what she's talking about. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring it up now if y'all are ready to jump into it.
Sure. And it's, for everybody that doesn't know, what Chad's talking about isn't actually CBDC. She was talking about guns and shootings. And
yes, right. The thing she's talking about is guns. So you had the shooting in Allen, Texas last week. And so Rolling Stone put this article out and says, MTG blames evil forces, not guns, for Texas shooting. She also spread, and they say misinformation. It's not misinformation. She also spread misinformation about antidepressant medications. Well, let's just agree to disagree, Rolling Stone. So what I want to get into is that they kind of make it seem as though what she's saying is misinformation. So she said, instead of focusing on America's gun culture, she blamed mental illness, drugs, and evil forces that she says cause people to do such horrors. So my response to that is, I go back to this this thing that happened. What was it? A couple of weeks ago with I can't remember his first, Neely. Is it Jonathan or Josh Neely? This guy who is like a homeless guy on the subway. He's like a Michael Jackson impersonator or something. Anyway, he was begging for money, and I don't want to get into and adjudicate like what went on and all that, but the guy choked him to death. Okay. Right. Well, I would say, are elbows to blame?
Right.
Are wrists to blame? Or is there an evil force at play and maybe some mental illness or some other things at play?
Right.
maybe some federal agency manipulation that sometimes happens with these things.
Almost every time.
That is also led by some of these evil forces and evil spirits and whatnot. So
I want to real quick though,
go
Chad,
ahead.
I want to dive in because that quote right at the beginning of the article, it right here where it says, instead of focusing on America's gun culture, right out of the gate, they're framing this as if it is because there are all these guns in America, that's why people shoot people.
Mm-hmm.
What people need to understand, that is propaganda directly. And I realize that this is Rolling Stone and that Rolling Stone is a massively leftist organization. I get all of that. But this is setting up the narrative to basically say that it is not the individual. What Chad is talking about, they are outright setting up to say, no, it's never about these things that caused it. It's the fact that you have guns in your hand and the ability to buy and use guns as a private individual. That's the narrative they're setting out right out of the gate.
Yeah. So then she goes into more good guys with guns, blah blah blah, and a good guy with a gun was near the Texas shooting thing and killed him, but not before he had killed 8 other people. Blah blah blah. Well, she's saying more good guys with like one guy. Anyway, just it's that whole back to that whole mentality of, or that whole belief, whatever you want to call it, that adage that you don't see people go hold up the police department. No, there's a bunch of guns there.
Right.
Gun
shows do not get held up.
What gets shot up more than anything? Gun-free zones.
Right.
Because the people who murder people obviously don't care about laws that make murder illegal.
Right.
So why would they care about your gun law if they're willing to kill someone? No, they're not going to pay attention to your gun law.
They do it. What they do is they go to places that have strict gun laws. So then they start shooting up places because there's no guns to fire back at them but the guns that are there to fire back at them are probably like 20 minutes away, so they can do and wreak havoc.
Right. So this is funny. So in a subsequent post on Saturday, she perpetuated harmful misinformation by calling on the federal government to study SSRIs and other factors that cause mass shootings. SSRIs are commonly prescribed medications for depression and anxiety and are used safely around the world. Like, okay,
not true.
That's bullshit. Like, you talk about misinformation. You are just making stuff up because it fits your narrative. And the best part is they disprove themselves later on. So that's what's so funny about this is, and I say funny. This is really sad that all of this is being that these things are happening and that the remedies are so terribly missing the mark. But anyway, let's get into it. So, Dr. James Knoll says one would expect it to be pronounced or at least much greater than we are seeing. Why do we not see increased violence in women, people over 60? Most people who commit these kinds of acts of severe violence are only prescribed medication because of their horrible thoughts, moods, and ideas. Yes, that's the evil spirits. That's the evil forces that she's talking about. That those thoughts. Do people not understand how demonic possession happens and like don't. how these like if you believe that evil exists, then you have to understand like how it manifests itself. And it's not just random people deciding on their own, like, hey, you know what? No, there are entities that seek the destruction and the consumption of human souls. And anyway, so the majority of people who carry out these acts are not known to any mental health service. Yeah, that's the point, is that like some of this stuff is like you have some misdiagnosis or some improper understanding of how this stuff is going to manifest itself.
I want to add to that. I 100%, Chad, I'm with you with the evil spirits and what have you. All that aside, those evil spirits might be CIA, FBI.
Yeah.
those are because the odds that this person was a controlled person is huge. Regardless, whether that was because
did you see the one tattoo where he's got like it's got the little SS? It looks like it was done that morning.
Right. Yeah, I know.
Like it was.
Right. Because and don't get me wrong, there are crazy people out there. There are bad people that do bad things all over the planet. Government doesn't have to be involved 100%. But statistically, anybody who's done this shit has often been in contact with an FBI agent for one reason or another.
On a message board or via email or somehow they have their phone number.
Right. So again, the evil spirit might be somebody working for Biden. So who is, let's be clear, he is the Azagthoth from the Necronomicon for H.P. Lovecraft, the idiot god. So
hey, look, man. There's gotta be one. There's this service called VidAngel that you can edit out all the profanity, nudity, and all that kind of stuff. Well, they also have a thing where you can watch the entire 3 prequel series of Star Wars, and you can hit one button and it deletes all the Jar Jar Binks scenes. Because that's my comp for Joe Biden. Right. Is I want to start calling him that, Jar Jar Biden.
Jar Jar Biden.
Because he just like
right, for sure.
It makes about as much sense.
Right, for sure. But yeah, I just wanted to put it out there that yes, 100%, I agree with what Chad's saying about spirituality, but sometimes those spirits inhabit human bodies.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like
that's the majority of the time, they're like the Agent Smiths of our lifestyle. So it's like, even if
that's perfect.
The Agent Smiths of our lifestyle. So they're always going to be planted at the right times, at the wrong times. So
right. Yeah, put right in there to cause some shit.
But that's perfect, Nicco. That
analogy.
That analogy that the you remember what Agent Smith, what they would do is they would jump into someone's body so that they could blend in and actually move about undetected. to wreak havoc. Exactly. And a lot of times it would just be to like influence you and to make you do something or be distracted or whatever the case may be. Yeah, I mean, it's very, and yeah. So to your point,
and
Marcus,
then
go ahead.
In that article, like it's very, very like similar to how they're like really trying to bring it back to gun culture, the guns, opposed to like it being actual people doing this shit.
Yeah.
So it's real. I mean, everything that they do is very, very like subtle, but like right in front of your face, which is annoying that people don't pick up on it. Because isn't there something like very important that's about to go down like within the next, I don't know, like year and a half, like elections?
Yeah.
And they like to pop out the guns and can we get more people to sway on this side about gun violence being bad? So, I mean, they're only just ramping it up.
Well, yeah, and timing is funny because they started recently doing a massive push on gun control and suddenly we started seeing more shooters. Weird.
Yeah.
You'd think
same thing happened in 2012 after Obama got reelected. You know, you had the Aurora, Colorado thing, and it was just. So, because remember that was when Batman, when the
Batman shooting did happen in the theater.
Yep. That was the Bane. What was that? Batman Dark Knight Rises.
Dark Knight Rises. I remember that.
Yeah,
because everybody was on edge. Nobody wanted to go to like a theater anymore.
Bro,
and dude came
I'd be so mad if
I'd
be so mad if I had made that movie. I'd be like, bro, like Christopher Nolan is probably like, seriously. Like, y'all had to do this.
Yeah, especially that movie.
You know what's crazy though is that's the one where they actually had the map in the scene where they're down below, and it has like the Sandy Hook thing on the side and everything.
Yeah.
But that's the stuff that got Alex Jones in trouble because he was like saying that it was all like fake and everything, and he got. What did he have to give up? How many?
Like a couple of million,
like
right?
$9 billion.
No,
it was like $9 billion. Or some shit. Like
this dude ain't never gonna make that much money.
Not only are we taking all your money, but you will never make money ever again. Like they were just
That's
like
so disgusting.
Yeah,
that is so disgusting.
It's like they did the Ross Ulbricht treatment to him, where they're like, yes, 4 life sentences plus 40 years, or three life sentences plus 40 years. Like
if you make it past the first life sentence,
right?
We got a couple more for you.
What is a life sentence? Like 25 years or something like that? Like
know.
in technical terms. So like they're just like, just in case you live to be 140, you will still be in here.
I gotta, the thing is, you gotta laugh at these assholes because the gall, dude, to some of the shit they do, and with a straight face will tell you this is for your safety. Here, let me go and take your guns away from you so you have no protection from anybody, and then we're gonna put CBDC in place and enslave you.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
Yeah, so about that, so I got all I did was somebody said like, "Oh, did y'all see Florida passed anti-CBDC legislation? We need to do that for Louisiana." And I was like, "All right, y'all. So listen, I'm just going to tell you, it's virtually impossible. Like you're basically, I don't know, maybe try to ban the U.S. dollar in Louisiana because that's about." What it's like, like
I'm
it's pretty close. It's pretty close to that bad. But if you're going to try to do it, you have to be like, it has to be perfect. It has to be like, there's no, well, I tried. I went to Project Hamilton. I pulled up their definition of what a CBDC is and I said like, all right, so this is what they describe it as. So what it needs to say is CBDC or any such instrument that would, and then I said, that would do the things that Project Hamilton says, which is like to replace or to supplement account balances and accounting exchanges and transactions and things like that. So I basically encompassed their definition, and they didn't use it, at least not in the legislation that passed that I saw. So it passed out of committee unopposed, and we're waiting to see if it goes to if it'll pass the House and the Senate in the Louisiana State Legislature. But I'm kind of disappointed, and I hope that there's an opportunity to like amend it to add a broader definition that is both broader but also like more drilled down to, so like broad in terms of like protection, but specific in terms of like what it has to be specific enough and broad enough so that it protects you well and doesn't make it too loose and vague so that it's easy to get around.
Agreed. One of the things I'd like you to do, Chad, possibly, is for the people that don't know what central bank digital currency is. Can you kind of give a little bit of an introduction and why it's different from Bitcoin?
Yeah, so central bank digital currency is an attempt to. So remember, after they told us how terrible Bitcoin was and how it was stupid and useless,
turn around and use this
blah blah blah, they're going to turn around and flip. Yeah. So Bitcoin, what makes Bitcoin, in the concept in Satoshi's white paper, what makes it so beautiful is that it is a peer-to-peer monetary transfer system that makes it to where I can send something to it's basically like think in super layman's terms, the Napster of money.
They can watch where and how much and who you send your money to.
So what I'm talking about, what Bitcoin is supposed to be.
Oh,
so what Bitcoin is supposed to be is, what's up, Sixth Book? That's my homie who I ran into at Walmart.
What's up, buddy?
What's up? So anyway, what Bitcoin is supposed to be is a peer-to-peer transfer system where you don't have to go through a third-party financial institution, where you don't have to worry about Chase Bank or Wells Fargo or whoever, Western Union or anybody like that, looking up your butt while you're trying to do this and having control over what you can and can't send or any of that. It would be purely peer-to-peer. And that's what Napster was. Napster was like, you could go find a song, and then you could just have someone share their MP3 of that song with you. Now, forgetting all the intellectual property stuff and everything, what this would be you have your keys to your funds or whatever, and then you can send a private encrypted message to someone else that has some of the access to some of those coins, that you're giving to the other person. And then it puts it all on the ledger. It's this immutable public ledger that shows where things have been transacted, but it also allows for a great degree of privacy. Well, the CBDC is like the opposite of all that stuff. It is the Federal Reserve or some other such entity will have
people
access,
in black robes.
Yeah, will have access, control, and will be able to like see. You will have no privacy, and it will be manipulable. They're already able to not even print money anymore. They just like digitize it. They don't even bother printing the bills anymore. This would make it even worse, where they could just change some code and now your money is worth a tenth of what it was yesterday. Mm-hmm. So I'll go into, this is what I used to show, like, this is how I built my definition.
Real quick, so, Chad, I want to add a couple things to your definition, 100%. But something that people also need to understand with CBDC is that this doesn't exist in a vacuum. One of the things that, for instance, government has been salivating about being able to do is get rid of physical currency, get rid of and make it to where there is no off the book transactions, to where, for instance, if I wanted to buy Nicco's t-shirt, I could say, hey, Nicco, I'm gonna give you $10 for your t-shirt. Would you take $10 for your t-shirt?
No, I want 35.
All right. How about 25? Would you take 25?
Can we do 35 and 25 cents?
All right, so we agree, and I give him his $35, but nobody sees that shit. Nobody gets taxed. I just give him $35. He gives me his t-shirt. With CBDC, that shit goes away because they have a record of absolutely everything that you have done. And
not only that, but they'll just tax it as it's happening because
Correct.
you won't even have
Right.
a choice.
I'll
of
get like
reporting
$30.
Your income tax
Right.
tax will happen before you even get
Or
your
Nicco will
income.
get $30.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's
It'll
one
be like
part
when
of
you
it.
buy something off Shopify or something. Like
Right.
PayPal,
And-
it all gets taken out.
Right. And another reason why banks want to do CBDC is because in Europe, they're already doing this. They want negative interest rates. And what that means is right now, if you go to a bank and you put your money in there, you get a small stipend of interest. And usually it's like 3% or whatever it is, that when you put your money in their bank, they're using your money to loan money to other people. And
on
you
a fractional
get a cut.
on a fractional basis too. They're loaning your money on 10x leverage or 100x leverage or 1000x leverage. Who knows?
Right.
Like it's they don't have anywhere near the reserves for what they have lent to people.
Correct. But what they've attempted in Europe and what they've talked, Ron Paul's talked about this to a large extent, but what they've talked about doing is doing negative interest rates. And what that means is that they can immediately, in whatever period of time they're going to do it, you would get some banks do like every quarter, some banks do every half quarter, some banks do every year. You get a payment for however much money you have in your account as a percentage that comes to you. In the negative one, they would take money out. Now, if they started doing that shit to my money, if I had my money in a bank and they started doing that, I'd immediately just pull out. Here comes my cash. Just give it to me.
But I think it's going to be more insidious and difficult to detect than that.
Right.
I think it's going to be very much more like inflation, where it's just. I
agree.
It's just going to be. You'll have this. Your balance will still be the same. Everything will just be more expensive.
Yeah. I get that, but I'm just trying to explain to people what they can do right now. And so what would happen is right now I'd pull my money out, but if you can't pull your money out, they can do it whenever they want. And do you think they're going to keep that at negative 3%?
Right.
No way. They're going to be up in that all the time.
Emergency powers just keep on get emergency'd.
Right. So I wanted to add those pieces
for sure. Well, and the social credit score thing comes into play too, where now they can we already saw PayPal tried to pull a fast one where they were going to just fine you $2,500 if you said some naughty things or supported some naughty things or whatever. So there's that. So what so there's the Satoshi Bitcoin white paper. That is like the pure form of like, hey, here's this system where it's completely encrypted with 256 bit hash encryption. It's beautiful. Like it's virtually impossible to like you would have to be able to find the right grain of sand in the ocean in order to get this, to guess this right, basically, the encryption. It's that ridiculously out of this world. So anyway, so there's that. And then that's the pure white paper. And then you have the Project Hamilton white paper, which is where I got the definition so that we could protect ourselves. Like, look, these are the people who are doing this. Let's use their weapon of definition against them. Right. This is what they chose not to do, but this is what I recommended. So it says, in light of continuing innovation in money and payments, many central banks are exploring the creation of a central bank digital currency. And then here's their definition. This is what I wanted us to use. A new form of central bank money which supplements existing central bank reserve account balances and physical currency. CBDC would exist in various forms depending on a central bank's objectives, including general purpose CBDC that can be more available to the public for retail, e-commerce, and person-to-person payments. Central banks, researchers, and policymakers have also proposed various objectives, including fostering financial inclusion, improving efficiency in payments. So they have like different. So you would have like your consumer retail CBDC, and then you could also have they were talking about having like a wholesale CBDC. And I was telling them like we also need to try to have craft the language. And I laid all this stuff out, put together a long email where it's like it also needs to be such that if there's a credit union in Louisiana, that they don't have to be hornswoggled into this thing.
Yeah.
That they can still transact in regular, physical cash. And it just, we'll see how all this stuff, there's enough attention on it where it may be possible that this gets at least delayed. I think all we can do at this point really is buy ourselves some time so that more and more people can learn how to use Bitcoin appropriately off book. And then what you're going to probably be doing is whatever the unit is that they use, whether it's some USDC or something like that. And then the CBDC is your, like the CBDC wallet is where you store your USDC, that you would actually be able to have like an off book account where you can move. So you have to, one of the things with Bitcoin, Satoshis are, every time you send a message, you have to have Satoshis to send it. It's a cost, but it's not really a cost. All you're doing is that's the amount of code that it takes to carry that message. So you have to have some Satoshis in your possession, or I say in your possession, you have to have access to some Satoshis, because that's one of the things that Vin has been very, very, he beats it like a dead horse, but for good reason. You can never own Bitcoin. You can never own any of this stuff. All you have is you have your keys, and your keys give you access to it. So in the same way that you don't own what's in your safety deposit box, but you have the key. The key is what, because if somebody else has the key, they own your stuff.
Right.
You don't. So if not your keys, not your coin. That's where that came from. Is that whole idea of like, if someone else has your password, it's not yours, is it?
Right. You're for sure.
It's theirs too. So, but what you can do is if you have access to Satoshis, is you can send those messages, and those messages can carry with them access to some other currency, some other coin, whatever the case may be. So anyway, just trying to build a definition like that. But that's not the only thing that we were doing at the state legislature. One of the biggest one, I think, that was probably the most important to a lot of the folks that I was working with, was one that I testified last week on. And I have some good news on that one I'm going to share when I'm done with this. But basically we called it the No Patient Left Alone Act. And everybody probably experienced something like this the last 3 years, whether it was a nursing home, an ER, a hospital, or any other type of medical facility. Routinely, people were denied access. They saw loved ones die alone in the hospital, in a bed, maybe on FaceTime or something like that, where they can video call them while they take their last breath. But you weren't allowed to hold somebody's hand. You couldn't hug them. There are all these different things. So went and testified last week. This legislation had passed unanimously through House committee, and 100-0 in the House. Got to the Senate Health and Welfare Committee last week, and they kicked it back and basically pushed it to because they didn't. They wanted to rework it and everything. Well, the good news is, as frustrated as I may have been with what I thought was going to be some very ruinous amendments and whatever to it, they cleaned up some of the things that they had some objections to, and I think we're pretty happy with what actually passed out of the Senate committee. So now it just goes to the full Senate, and as long as it passes there, it becomes law. And now you won't be able to deny. Good. Because what they were doing is they were taking, if the CDC said, and that's another one we did. There was one, this one got through a House committee today, that a lot of in every state, they were taking CDC and WHO guidance and just making policy off of it.
Sure.
And it's like, this isn't like, you're not beholden to them. Like you owe them nothing. You don't have to do what the CDC guidance,
right,
what their guidance is. because what they would do is they would say, okay, yes, all the kids in school have to wear masks because the CDC said so. And so the CDC has no jurisdiction in the state. So our people with Health Freedom Louisiana, shout out to Jill Hines and Fiorella Tapani that are like they kind of ramrod this stuff. They're there every day that there's important legislation in session. They're there to see it and testify and bring documentation and everything. Well, what we were kind of pushing back against on this, and they talked to like some of the Louisiana officials. It's like, look, you can't make, like with the Louisiana Department of Education, you can't make these kids wear masks. Or, I mean, you don't have to make these kids wear masks because the CDC said that they should.
Right.
Show us, if you're going to do this, you have to show us the safety data, show us the studies, and show us how you can prove that this is safe for these kids.
Right.
And that, incessant hand sanitizer is safe for the kids.
Right.
And that all this stuff, show us the studies that were done to show that this is effective and that it's safe. And they're like, well, we didn't do any of those studies. Ask the CDC. And they're like, no. The CDC is not making us do this. You're making us do this.
Right.
So you have to, the burden of proof is on you. And it was this constant passing of the buck where the CDC would say, the CDC would say, nobody has to do this. This is just guidance. And then the health authorities would say, well, we have to do this because this is what the CDC says.
Yeah.
They just wash their hands of it.
For sure. And of course,
with hand sanitizer.
Of course, they're going to do that because they don't want to be held liable when something fucked up happens. They're just covering their ass. There's a couple things I want to point out. One, I think that what you've done, Chad, is good, and I think that that we need more of that. We need more people stepping out and making their voice heard, and we need more of that, not less. But I do have to say, you're worried that they're going to fuck it all, the CBDC stuff, fuck it all up. Of course they are. Unfortunately, what you're dealing with is a bunch of statists, whether they're the statists in government or the statists outside of government. You're dealing with statists, and they don't get the hard part in this whole discussion is getting people to understand that when we talk about the government, this is not a group of caring, loving individuals. The government is nothing more than a band of criminals writ large. These are criminals trying to rip you off. And the best thing that a criminal can have is an unarmed and unprepared victim. And the more that we become, and that's what Chad is doing with what he's doing with these statists, trying to get them to put through freedom positive policies and ideas, is he's trying to show them that these are criminals. They are the enemy. These are the people who are trying to kill your children. That is not a fake comment. It is not hyperbole. It is not. That's what they're doing. They know that they're doing it, and they say that they're doing it. If you want to know what they want to do, go listen to their words. Go listen to what the biggest thing I do that really converted me into being an anarchist many years ago was the fact that I just listened to what these assholes said. Mm-hmm. And so to my 2 points really are, just to bring it back together, is that yes, we realize that we're dealing with statists, that we're dealing with people that don't have a full understanding of the criminal enterprise that is government. We get it. Mm-hmm. We understand that that's the case, but you have to try. Mm-hmm. You have to do what you can do. And sometimes that means going in and saying a bunch of shit to a bunch of people if you get nothing done but talking to the people in the audience.
Yeah. Well, so I will say this, a couple of qualifiers. So one is that it was not my idea to make anti-CBDC legislation, and the other stuff that I was fighting for was to roll back some stuff, to like get them out of our business and
Right.
just give us, like, hey, okay, we're gonna leave us alone. Don't, let us go see our loved ones. If our loved one says it's okay and we say it's okay, then it should be okay. And yeah, you can have whatever your hospital policy is to like make sure we're not like infecting other patients or anything like that. Like I get it. Like they want to have certain things where they're protecting all the other patients in the hospital. It's not like I'm the only show in town. I get it. But like the stuff that they did to my mother-in-law and my wife, where my wife brought my mother-in-law to the hospital, went into the room with my mother-in-law while she was meeting with the nurse. And then when they tested her and she tested positive, they made my wife leave, but she was still in the hospital. So like, who the fuck are you protecting? Who are you protecting? Like, all you did was make my mother-in-law feel alone, isolated, and afraid.
And which lends
might
her
have been
to
on
possibly
purpose.
getting sicker.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So thank God she survived, and that like the whole thing. We anyway. But all right. So the other qualifier is, I will say this. So I think let's make this kind of like a pyramid, right? So as the pyramid goes up, so when you're down here, there's more people like local city council and like, your school board, your homeowners association, whatever little township, parish, county, whatever type people, right? You have and then the more you go up the pyramid, the more the power gets consolidated. So I think as you're down here, what you said about the criminal gang writ large, all that stuff is less true across the board. Like, I think, yes, there are some criminal, whether it's sheriffs, coroners, city council members who are like, they are trying to rip people off and all that stuff. But you have a lot of people also who are actually just like, they're fed up and they're like, I'm going to go try to change something and do something about it. The reason why it gets increasingly more concentrated in the evil gang, of criminals writ large, as you go up the pyramid towards the presidency and some of these world organizations, global organizations and everything, is because I think at that smaller local level, or that local level that has more people, because there's just more local people. The fact that there's only 500 some odd, Congress people governing the whole country tells you a lot, because there's more than that in each state that are, governing all these different little counties and municipalities and everything. Right.
Right. Patrick Henry actually called that. He said that the size, he used the exact size, like the size of Virginia plus Rhode Island or something, was the size of Britain. And he said they have more members of the House of Commons than these two states than what you're proposing.
Exactly. So, their concentration is lower when it's more local. But the reason why the concentration of evil people keeps going up is because two things happen. One, the people who aren't evil either get so disheartened by what they see and what they run up against, and they have other stuff to do. They've got a family to take care of. Right. They thought they could go in and like just in one session go get some things done, and then they get tired after 2 or 3 or 4 goes at it, and sometimes just one go at it, and they're like, I'm done. I'm not doing this again. This is a waste of my time, and I've got other shit to do. Yep. So there's that. So you already eliminate a lot of good people, because good people don't have time for that kind of nonsense, and they don't have the evil mental makeup and spiritual makeup to continue
to take a bribe,
to advance up the ladder, right? So you have that, people quitting, and then the other part of it is the ones that do stick around, either they figure out that they got to play the game to stick around and they're still trying to do some good, or they just buy in and sell their souls to the devil.
Right.
Or they were evil to begin with. So that's what, you have your lowest level where you've got your evil to begin with, and they're ready. They're already got their sights set on the rising to the top of the ladder. A lot of the other people are just like, I just want to take care of my neighborhood. That's all I care about. But you can see the people who like, even in your homeowners association or your church group or whatever, that you're like, oh, that person's a psychopath who, if they have their way, they're going to be governor in 10 years. Because that's what they want, you know?
Oh, for sure.
I've had people ask me to run for office, and I'm like, I don't want. Number one, I don't want to do it. Number two, I don't want my whole life ruined and my wife called all kind of names that when she didn't even ask for this shit, you know?
Right. Yeah, and I saw this shit happen, dude. Because I'm with you. My back in the day, and I know you guys have maybe heard this story, but back in the day, this has been probably about 3 years ago or so, when they were talking about, it might have been 4 years ago. Anyway, when they were talking about bringing 5G into my area. And I went in there and I had all the statistics and all the nonsense, and all it took for them to throw my shit out was $9 million for my little town. We'll get you hooked right up with. And they went, we don't have that kind of money. Fuck all that. But so that's all it took.
Yeah.
But I stayed and listened to other shit that was going on. They had a lady that her gas or her water bill was astronomical. She had a water bill that was $20 a month forever. And this is a little old lady. And suddenly it was over $1,000. And she was like, I don't know what caused this. They could not figure out any way to do it. Well, my little town voted, not the town itself, but the town council voted, and they voted to just throw it away. They were like, okay, you know what? This is gone. Now that doesn't happen in Indianapolis. That happens in my little town. In my little town, they were able to do that because, again, those are people that are farther away from the evil that is centralized power. But I noticed Karen. And I feel bad for somebody that's going to run because her name was Karen. I feel bad for somebody else that's named Karen that's going to run, because I'm going to vote against them every fucking time when I see them, because I don't vote in the national elections at all, but I will vote in my local elections.
So wait, you'll never vote for a shorty named Karen?
Not in my town. Nope. Because I can't remember the bitch's last name, but she voted to fucking put $1,000 on this fucking grandma. And so that's the bitch that Chad's talking about. Yeah. I was like, fuck that cunt.
So all right. So then let's bring it to someone who I can actually say. So there's two. So first of all, like Jill and Fiorella are really good. But then I also have to bring, and it's crazy. It's like it's women that are doing this stuff, because it's like I don't know. Most of the men have, like, I'm one of the few men who, like, I'll try to, like, find a way to, like, work my schedule around so I can be there for, like, an afternoon or something. But it's always women, because, like, everybody else has to work, and they do this stuff on purpose, like the middle of the day during the week, you know, so that nobody can go and they can just pass all this stuff under a cover of darkness. Nobody ever sees it. They just find out, like, oh, this is the shit that happened. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, there's two representatives in Louisiana, two women.
There's Chad Duncan.
No, that's Nicco. Nicco was Duncan, something else. But anyway, no. So it's Kathy Edmonston and Beryl Amity. There's some other good folks in the Louisiana State Legislature that we have, but those are the two that are, you know, consistently either sponsoring or writing legislation that we are supporting. That it's all stuff that they've been the ones on the front lines fighting back some of the vaccine mandate stuff, some of the other, you know, scamdemic related nonsense. And so I'm going to read something that Beryl Amity said. She's the one who was crafting this CBDC legislation, and I was trying to help out. So that was the thing. I was like, it wasn't my idea to do this. I was just like, hey, like, if y'all are going to do this, it has to be airtight. Like, you've got to make it. Yeah. It can't be like some half-assery, because it's going to be pointless. They're going to find, if you just say, we don't want CBDC, they're going to be like, we called it CBRQ. Ha ha ha. You know, like, I know how these people work. Like, I was like, you have to get in the mind of an evil banker, and then you have to figure out, if I was an evil banker, what would I do?
What loopholes would I put out here for you?
Right, exactly. So, so anyway, I said, understand. I'll support the passage of whatever you guys come up with, and I appreciate the effort. I'm just trying to help make it as airtight as possible. And her response, and this is why I'm like, they're not all bad. All right. So this was her response. She said, I appreciate your help. This is not a familiar arena to me. So I have to just listen to all of you and pray for wisdom. Because that's, I mean, really, like, that's where she is. She's like, I don't understand. Like,
yeah,
Bitcoin, crypto, and all this stuff is not my, I can't do agriculture, that help, you know what I mean? I can't do all these things. I'm trying to do the things I specialize in. And the rest of the time, I have to go to people who I feel like I can trust.
Right.
And then I have to just pray for wisdom. And when she said, and just pray for wisdom, I'm like, okay, so like she gets it that like this isn't coming from some place of arrogance or, you know, like holier than thou. Like there are a lot of them. There's one, this guy, did you watch the video of my testimony?
I didn't watch the whole thing. I saw the lady before you.
Did you see the guy who talked after I finished?
No. No, you got done, Chad. You were what
Jeffrey
I was
Luno,
watching for.
Jeffrey Luno, he's a lawyer and he's a prick. But he is one who, first of all, he lied, misrepresented a whole bunch of stuff, and was talking about it, and he was like laughing while he's talking about some of this stuff. And that's who I was talking about when I was like, I don't appreciate you like acting like this shit's funny. It's not funny at all. Like people died.
Oh yeah, I did hear right after you were done. He was like, I wasn't, and I was like,
yeah, that's him. That's him. That's the guy. So he does not have that same humility that she has, where it's like, look, I really feel like she is there as a servant, and like there are people like him who you can just tell by the way he acts and carries himself. He is your typical blowhard lawyer. Like did you ever watch the Stephen Avery series on Netflix?
No.
The how to make a murderer or whatever. No. That guy in Wisconsin that they framed him for rape and then they framed him for murder and all this kind of stuff.
I haven't seen it.
Well, anyway, that Jeffrey Luno guy reminds me of the plaintiff's attorney in that thing where he is anyway. Just yes, there are.
So he's going to wind up. What you're telling us is he'll eventually wind up the senator from Louisiana.
Yeah, I don't think he's that good. I don't think he's that good. Like he's got a way higher opinion of himself than he deserves. I don't think he's good enough to get there. But I'll put it this way. I bet you he wanted to at one point. Okay. He's too old and too unaccomplished to get there. So I don't see that happening. But yeah, he would love if he was 30. Yeah, I would be like, yeah, he probably is. Yeah. But he's like 60 something. So I don't see it happening. Yeah, that window has closed for him. Thank God. Right. But yeah, so that's kind of what we're up against. And you see the powers and principalities, behind all that stuff, and you do what you can, but then ultimately you go back to, what she said. I'm just gonna, all I can do from this point on is just pray, because none of the other stuff it all pales in comparison to what the creator of the universe can do. So
right. And for those that are watching, I called this "Defend Your Freedom," and I did it on purpose because one of the things we wanted to talk about was Marjorie Taylor Greene's the article in Rolling Stone and all of that, but that's just one way to defend your freedom. What Chad's done is another way to defend your freedom. Another way that you can defend your freedom is by not participating in their dumb shit. Stop giving them money when you don't have to. Do everything you can to not participate. And that's another way to defend your freedom. Do what you can to make these assholes irrelevant and scared of you. And if you don't think that they're scared of you, you are wrong. We talked about this last week. The fact that they are having to propagandize us means they're scared, and they continue to get more and more scared, and they should be. I'm telling you right now, watched today, a thing by Larkin Rose talking about the growth of anarchism. He was actually talking about what he's done in the past and how it's not about him, it's about the message and all of that kind of stuff. But he was talking about that he can like name 3 people he knew that got anarchism when he started. And he said if he thought real hard, he might be able to get 5. There are 3 of us right now, that get it. And there are millions. I personally know hundreds of people that get it. This past weekend, I had a spiritual experience, and part of that spiritual experience, there's a woman there who is a lovely woman who is not an anarchist, and someone I know, just to not freak people out, someone I know was enunciating voluntarist anarchist ideas, and she was doing a lot of this. So that's happening constantly.
It's funny how that happens. Like that all that nodding will happen, and then if you say, "And that's why I'm an anarchist," and then they're like,
"Yeah, I know." They're like, "Oh shit, I done fucked up." No, this woman's wonderful. So she gets it, and you can't be around. I mean, come on, around me and Amber, Michael, and Sarah, and Anya. For God's sake, a big room full of anarchists.
And not know what's up. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
wouldn't have been surprising to her. No, but I have had people like that where I just say the stuff that and in a way that I'm like, all right, they'll nod to this, they'll nod to this, they'll nod to this, and then I'll be like, and that's why, and then it's like, they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, well, yeah, and then I start breaking that down, and it's still, man, it doesn't matter how much sense it makes, how much it goes their heads.
It breaks them. It melts their brains. Their CPUs start to malfunction, and they don't know how to compute. It's like seeing your ex-girlfriend you haven't seen in 5 years with changed hair and slimmed up. You're like, are you sure that's you? Are we positive this? Yes, it is that.
My favorite thing to do to people, we're talking about that kind of thing. My favorite thing is there's this woman at work. Her name's Beth. She's a wonderful person as well. And funny, same name, by the way. but anyway, this woman at work, different woman. We're talking, and she just tells me, she says, you're one of the sweetest and nicest people that I've ever talked about. And I said, of course I am. I'm an anarchist. I have to have ethics. And she went, because the more these people realize that the demonization of the word anarchy is exactly that, and for the purpose of strengthening the state.
Yeah.
The more they realize that, the more we got them.
It's crazy. You remember when we had the conversation a couple of years ago? God, no, that was 3 years ago. It was in the middle of the summer of 2020, or like in September of 2020. So we were on the Mogul Summit call, and Brian, Hotep Jesus, and a bunch of other folks were trying to convince us to drop the word anarchy from the show, from the channel, and all that. I have to say, it's a catch-22, because on the one hand, it's there's the baggage, right? But on the other hand, there's the it's got that word is if we called it something even voluntarist or voluntarist or whatever, I feel like I have to spend more time explaining that than I do having to explain how I don't mean this when I say anarchy. Right. I would rather say, when I say anarchy, think of it this way. It's not a monarchy. It's just no ruler. And and now I'm even evolving that into I'm an anarchist when it comes to human beings. Outside of, there's only one human being who's ever walked the face of the earth that I would kneel to as a king, and that's Jesus Christ. Everybody else is no, they're a a horrible, horrible imitation of that. And that's and even then, that's because it would be voluntary, because before I could even kneel for him, he went up on a cross. He washed my feet and went up on a cross and died.
Right.
So that's, I can't even come close. But yeah, so it's having that, like the idea of like true leadership that is organic versus this authoritarian, like because I said so kind of stuff is. And then like the more I like consider like my relationship with God and how like God's not a rapist, so God won't even force me to love him or be with him forever.
Right.
And that's pretty crazy, because like being with him forever is the best thing that could happen to me.
Yep.
And he loves me enough that he doesn't want to force that on me.
Yep, because God is decentralized.
So it's like, man, like how crazy is that? That like, because it really is a lot for the human mind to wrap itself around, that someone would love you so much that even though they know that you being with them for eternity is the best thing that it far surpass. It is, everything else is a distant 75th. It occupies 1 through 74, probably more than that. 1 through infinity, and then infinity plus 1 place is anything else you could imagine, right?
Right.
And he's still just like, you know what? If you choose infinity plus 1th place to be your favorite, I have to respect that.
Yep.
It breaks my heart, but I have to respect it.
Yep.
Like that's pretty. That's an intent. What's that? If you love someone, set them free. It's
right.
That,
exactly.
It's like, yeah, that's the.
For sure. That's
so many love songs are really can only really be true about God.
I would agree with that,
because a human being's always going to let you down, and there's always these things where like, I'll never let you go, I'll never let you down. Bullshit.
All right, Chris Asley.
Every you know what I'm saying? Yeah, never gonna give you up. That's bullshit, man. Like I guarantee you, the girl he was singing to 30 years ago, he broke up with her.
Right, for sure. Or she broke up with him.
He cheated on her.
Oh, did he?
I'm saying I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me.
But I do think that it's more effective, though, what you were talking about, to get people's heads nodding and then slap them.
Yeah.
And you're slapping them with the truth. You're like, I like to say, when someone's like, talking about Democrats and Republicans, and I almost always say, I think they're all criminals. And every time they're like, oh yeah, they're all criminals. And that's why I chose to be an anarchist.
Right. Because I don't have to support any of them.
Right.
I don't have to defend them. I don't have to, none of that stuff. I don't like even like if Beryl Amity came out tomorrow and was like, you know what? I'm going to support this like oppressive police legislation or something like that. I'd be like, yeah, you know what? I thought she was for real, but I wouldn't be like, yeah, but it's 5,000 degree, or whatever, not degree, but dimensional chess, like, no, I'm not doing the Trump, psychopath defense charade. No, I do want to say that when you said slapping him, I have a new slogan for us: Aquarian Anarchy, slapping you in the face with the foam finger of truth.
Write that down and send it to me. I'll tweet it.
because it's like
tweet it and I'll share it.
I'm slapping you, but it's a foam finger.
Right. For sure. Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, we do need, I think, to start really branching out, and one of the things that I think is important is for us to stop just, I believe in building our own communities and all of that, but we got to start talking to these people, and we got to start, and I'm talking about hardcore statists. I'm not talking about the people that are like, yeah, I vote once in a while, that's all right. Yeah. I'm talking about the people that are like, wave a fat flag, or suck on Joe Biden for 10 minutes. All those people, we have got to start, talking to them, because because we got to get them to realize, and I'm not saying convince them, because you're not going to convince them by talking to them. They got to figure this shit out on their own, but they have to know that there's another way. And this is why for a long time we've been telling people, be the face of anarchy for these people, be the loving embrace of freedom, to do that, don't, and yes, I'm not always on guys. I mean, there are times when I get shitty, or I'm trying to look for answers, and the old authoritarian comes back in, and I'm like, okay, should I be doing this, or should I be doing that? And the answer is no. But I'm not perfect. But we're better than at every metric. We are better than any of these statist assholes. There's not anybody that is
listen.
Statist.
Let's not go too far. Okay, we it's not saying a whole lot to say that we're not as bad as these people.
You are correct. Right, saying we're better than turds rolled in pig vomit, but
right. You feel me? You feel me? Right. Oh shoot, man! Listen. So, all right.
Chad froze.
I thought that was me.
So here you go. Ready? Okay. About before. What? I froze?
Yeah, you froze. We didn't hear a bit of that.
Marcus. Okay, Nicco. Has Marcus been freezing for you all night?
No, not at all. You just froze the first time and the only time.
Then it might be then it might be me. Maybe it is me. I don't know. Because I could see Nicco, but Marcus would freeze up when. Yeah, maybe. All right, so y'all see what's on the screen here?
A prayer.
So this is one of the things that, well, this isn't just a prayer. This is Psalm 146. Oh, okay. So this is one that you can bring to, because I know, Marcus, you have a lot of like Christian family and everything. This is a good one. So praise the Lord, my soul. I will praise the Lord all my life. I will sing praise to my God as long as I live. Do not put your trust in princes, in human beings who cannot save. When their spirit departs, they return to the ground. On that very day, their plans come to nothing. Blessed are those whose help is the God of Jacob, whose hope is in the Lord their God. That's that's my like anarchist, how like you can, these things aren't incongruent. For a little while, I'm going to admit, I tried to like shoehorn Christianity into like libertarianism and anarchism and everything. And the more and more I have like abandoned that approach and gone more towards like, no, like I'm going to trust in God and where God leads me. The more it's like reinforced, like, okay, but like really, like that's the only authority.
Yeah.
That's the only authority, and everything else is a false authority. And and so that particular passage, that part, do not put your trust in princes or the sons of men, for when their breath departs, their plans perish. That's every Sunday in the Divine Liturgy in the Orthodox Church. That's nice. What we say that every, and so it's just like, it's like a reminder, a constant reminder of like, yes, this is why so many people they think Trump is going to save them, or they think whatever is going to save them. I even have to hear, sometimes people are like, yeah, if we can just get rid of John Bell Edwards, get a new governor. I'm like, no, man, like that's not gonna. Yeah, that's not gonna make.
Master doesn't change things.
Yeah, that's not gonna make you be a better person.
Facts,
right? Like that. What we need to be focusing so much more of our attention on is ourselves and our relationship with God,
for sure,
and the people closest to us, and making sure that they're good and that they're on the right path. Because too much of this stuff it's doing exactly what that psalm says not to do. It's putting their trust in the princes and sons of men.
Yeah. Well,
who will let you down, guaranteed.
Yeah. Well, Voltairine de Cleyre said something very similar to that. I don't know if she was borrowing from
Isaiah,
the Bible, but it's possible. But she said something very similar to that. And, one of the things I think we also need to be clear about is I would call myself an anti-authoritarian. I don't believe in authority, but I don't believe in unrighteous authority. If you come in and you can show me that you know how to cure cancer, by God, you're the authority. I sure the fuck am not.
Well, that's what
taken care of.
That's why I respect what Beryl said to me, and it's so weird that her name is Beryl. But anyway, she's definitely not have to worry about being called Karen. Her name is Beryl. But anyway, but she, the fact that she said, like, this isn't my arena. I'm not an authority here. I'm just trusting and listening to y'all and praying for wisdom.
Right.
So she's putting her trust in the proper authority. Like she's not fully even trusting us.
Right.
Like she's like, I'm trusting you to the point that the wisdom that I pray for doesn't say, hey, I think that guy's trying to lie to you. Because that a lot of times that's what, if we genuinely ask for that, for real wisdom, sometimes you'll feel some little tinglies, that's like, what, I think somebody's trying to deceive me. For sure. And that's one of the biggest benefits to wisdom, is like having discernment to be able to tell, when you're forced with this choice, okay, well, both of these sound good and both of them have me kind of afraid to pick the wrong one. So I really need some help here, because I can't, I feel like I could, when you don't know if it's like, all right, heads or tails. If you guess wrong, I'm going to blow your head off. Well, you know what? I really want some, yeah, help me pick the right one. Like it's, and I know I'm making a joke, but
sure.
Sometimes it's like real, like, what do we do? What do I do in this situation? Because, it's not super cut and dry all the time,
Yeah. I also find that it's funny that the stuff we talk about, the peace, love, and freedom stuff, regardless of the religion, doesn't matter, Christianity, Buddhism, whateverism, the nanity that there's out there, all of them are teaching the same shit. They're all saying the same things. And it says something to me that's our message. Our message to people is peace, love, and freedom. That's it. That's what we want. That's how we want it. And yes, how you get there, in my opinion, spiritually, is to seek out God and to focus your attention on God and at the negation of just about everything else. Sure, you're going to have allowances for your family. I have allowances for my family. But God is my focus. And one of the reasons that I have such a very good relationship with my wife is because the two of us have our eyes fixated on God. And that's the kind of relationship we had from the beginning. And that's the kind of partner you should be looking for in your marriage. You should not be looking for someone to have a marriage and then introduce them to your religion. That's not going to work. Sure, they might eventually come to it and you might get lucky, but that's not who you should be looking for. Who you should be looking for is somebody that already has similar goals to you, is already moving in the same direction, and has their eyes set on what your goals are, which should be peace, love, and freedom. It should be finding God in your life, because that is the guiding force. We are here not to build wealth. I strongly like to build wealth. We're not here to free the world. I strongly want to free the world. We're here so that God can experience what it means to be us. He can be there and we can join with him. That is the reason we're here, is to find that pathway to God. And now different people find a different way. And I have respect and love however they find their way. And there are better ways. There are ways that that aren't covered with landmines. If you're going up a mountain, you don't want to go up the mountainside that has landmines on it, unless you're weird. And I'm weird, so but most people should direct their attention directly to that top of the mountain, where they can find their real purpose, which was to be God's emissary through your body.
Nicco, when you're trying to find the right woman, what you need to be doing is you need to be charging up that mountain, and she's gonna find you because she's charging up. She's gonna be charged. Well, I wouldn't say. I mean, I would avoid the landmines. That's my MO. But no. But what my point is, like, if you're pointing in the right direction and you're going where you're supposed to go, she'll find her way. Y'all will end up side by side with each other, heading in our direction. I think too often we get caught up trying to chase the means to the end as the end itself, and that's how we get tripped up. And that's why you end up with some people. I heard way back when, it's a beautiful way of putting it, but don't hang your coat on a hook that can't bear the weight. So don't hang your heart on a hook that can't bear the weight either.
That's very true.
You know, like you too often people try to put their happiness on a person.
Yeah.
And then when that person lets them down, it destroys them, and then they lose their faith in humanity, and they may even lose their faith in God. And it's like, well, that's not God. That's you doing that to yourself.
That's on you.
That's on you. Yeah.
So now that we're on Dateline for Nicco, if any female would like this fine young black man is looking for him a God's partner.
Natasha, you know any honeys in the Chicago area that might be seeking God that could help me go out?
Let me say, I have been bombarded.
Found somebody.
I've been bombarded with actually a lot of like ex situations that just came back.
That's why you brought that up earlier.
Yeah, because I saw my ex and like my face was priceless because I wasn't expecting to see that person, and they looked completely different. And I looked at them and I was like, "That's not you." And then I like computed, complete, invalid. What's happening? Wait, you're here, and then
context was all thrown off.
Exactly that.
I had something like that happen one time. A dude showed up at a Christmas party, and it's one of the guys I knew from one of the mills.
He's looking for a dude.
No, shut up. As a guy I work with showed up at somebody.
Love happens in all places.
I was at somebody else's. Shut up. I was at somebody else's Christmas party. It wasn't even my house. Okay, I'm at this big Christmas party, and the doorbell rings. I open the door, and I'm like, wait, I know you from somewhere. Well, I didn't recognize him because he didn't have a hard hat on. Because like usually we see each other out at work, and it was just like the context was all off. So I'm imagining Nicco. He's like, he sees his ex, and it's like her hair is different. She's like, she's in a place where he never had been with her before or anything like that. It was just like, who are you?
Right.
Like, I know you from somewhere, and the place that I know you is. It's not here, but I know you here, like right now.
From the House of Pain.
Yeah.
See, Scott trying to get me in trouble down there.
What you doing?
Oh.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna tell this brief story when Nicco's done.
No, I'm done. We're done over here. We're not reminisce about it no more.
So no, we're not done. Nicco, I gotta know.
Yes.
Is there does Shorty have a chance?
Does Shorty have a chance?
Is she gonna watch the show and know that she has a chance?
She probably is watching it right now. Look,
nice.
I told her we're gonna talk after the retrograde because she popped up during the retrograde, and we go wait for everything to fizzle out. All these weird ass situations. Granted, we can like obviously talk, but I've noticed how my conversations go during retrograde season and how funny things go. So we have like a few more days until I start really conversing with said individuals. Yeah, but we're being a young lad, and we're on the road of growth, because weirdly enough, right before she popped up, it's most definitely planning on talking to other individuals, and then she's like, "Oh, hi there, how you doing, Nate?" And I'm like, "Hi, you're back." So, I mean, we're gonna see how things go after
Nice.
I do the pros and cons list, and we're gonna make sure that I'm on the right mountain instead of being like, I'm on a mountain. Oh shit! Like,
For sure.
Exactly.
Right, and it's a volcano.
It's a volcano. That's right.
This mountain smells kind of funny,
on a
boys.
mountain.
It's
It
like-
rhymes with Vesuvius. Oh, no, it is Vesuvius.
So,
Shit.
yes.
All right, so my
Well, that's good,
story.
Nico.
So you guys
Pros
are
and
gonna
cons list is a good thing. Go ahead, Marcus.
Oh, for sure. So you guys will enjoy this because it fucking demeans the shit out of me, and it's funny on me. That's why Chad, why Scott brought it up, is because, all right, so this is years ago. I was like 20 years old, or 21 years old, because I was in a bar. But I may have been 22, somewhere around there.
You had to wait until you were 21 to get in a bar.
I
You
know.
non-Louisiana SOBs, man.
The
I swear.
reality is, the first time I was in a bar fight at 16 and was pulling, and Scott will know this person too, pulling Chuck Meisner out of the fucking bar.
I thought
as
you
he
were
was
going to say
getting
you were
his
pulling his
ass
teeth
beat.
out of your fists or something.
No, but anyway, so to get to this story, so I was working like a telemarketing place. I was like 22 years old, and I was also involved with a group of friends. The only dance floor, this is a fact, the only dance floor in Bloomington was a gay bar named Bullwinkle's. All right. Right. So we'll start there. So my friend, Chad's like, look at all this. I'm outie. But so, all right. So the only dance floor in Bloomington is a place called Bullwinkle's. We go to, so everybody's like, let's go dancing. And we're like, where are we going to go dancing? Bullwinkle's. Okay. So, because I don't care if somebody's gay or not. I don't care. Not my business. So we go to this bar, right? And I'm hanging out and I'm doing what we're doing. And to be clear, there's a bunch of girls with us. It's a bunch of guys and girls. Not that I care, but that's the facts. Anyhow, this dude who I knew from work, I didn't know him well, but I don't even remember this dude's name. This guy comes up to me. He's like, hey, I know you from work. And I'm about half drunk anyway. And I'm like, hey, man, what's going on? Because I'm real friendly when I'm drunk.
Oh, no.
So I'm like, hey, man, how's it going? You know, and he's like, oh, not much. I'm going outside to get a smoke. Want to come with me? I said, sure. You know, exactly. But I was drunk, so I had no idea. So they're all sitting at the table, and I go out with this dude, and we're talking, you know, just bullshitting, you know, about everything. And then this dude's like telling me about his mom and all this stuff, you know. And I'm like, cool, you know, just talking. And so he's like, hey, man, can I get you a drink? And I'm like, no, man, I'm driving tonight, so I've got to start chilling out. And, you know, so I've got to drink Coke, you know, because I didn't have any idea, that, you know, because I didn't put together I'm in a gay bar. I had no idea. You know,
you didn't put it together yet.
Right. Yet is the important word here. So I'm like, no, man, I'm cool. And he goes, well, I'll buy you a Coke. And I'm like, nah, you know what? I think I'm good right now. And he's like, well, then why don't you and I go out here on this dance floor? And I went, exactly. I'm like, fuck. And it hits me.
You
I'm
thought
like,
I was here for this and that. And that
I was
is
like,
not this.
oops.
This is not that.
So I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom.
I'm just
Dumb
here
as-
with friends.
Right. So I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom because I'm a dumbass. I'm 22 years old. I have no idea. So I'm making a beeline away from this dude into the
You asked
bathroom.
the dude to go to the bathroom.
I
with
know.
you.
I thought
You're-
that, but he did not. Luckily for him, he did not follow me into the bathroom because I was not a peaceful person at the time. So I go into the bathroom and I come back out. I immediately went to my friends who are rolling. just on the fucking floor. My friend Anita looks over at me and she goes, "Oh, but he was cute." And I was like, "Go fuck yourself. Why didn't you let me know?" And so that's the story he was wanting to
Just
talk
in case,
about.
you never know how many pauses you have to throw up. You just throw up enough that you can say, "Look, I tried. I did my part."
Right.
You know, I told him to pause. He didn't
Right.
pause.
I know.
He went through with it. He hit fast forward.
Right.
And he said, "Let's go to the bathroom." Damn.
Yeah. Oh, dude, man, that'd have been a bad day for him because I'm an old man now. I was not then.
I ever told y'all about the time I was out on one of these road trips, like I am right now. I'm just gonna go ahead and throw this up now. Like I don't know what I'm gonna say that might get me in trouble, but I'm just pre-pausing it right now. Okay, listen, I am happily married, straight, super straight man. You see all this orange on the screen? That's because we're super straight. Anyway, no. So this, now that I think about it, it's like, damn, man, I kind of set myself up. So I went to see what was it wasn't Clash of the Titans. It was the Wrath of the Titans or whatever, the second one.
Yeah.
Which, now that I think about it, it's like I like Greek mythology and stuff, and I remember the old Clash of the Titans from back in the day when I was a kid.
Are barely even Greek mythology.
Yeah, well, but it was terrible too. But anyway, it's the new ones are better special effects and everything. But it's a lot of dudes like running around sweaty and like scantily clad. There's like a homoerotic kind of thing to it that I didn't really think about. Like I was just like, I'm just going to see a movie. I'm like by myself. I'm out. So I sit in this theater. I'm by myself. There's like 4 people in the theater.
Right.
And this, I swear this dude's probably like 60, white hair and everything, comes and sits on the row that I'm on. But he's like a good 12 seats over to the right. All right.
Sure.
I've been sitting there. Like the previews are over and the movie's about to start. And he like just comes up and sits in the row. And I'm sitting there, I'm watching the movie. I'm just chilling, doing my thing. Then like he comes and sits like closer. I'm like, well, that's weird. Like, why is this guy sitting? Like, all right, whatever, bro. Like, hey, yeah. I mean, I'm in the middle. Now he's more in the middle. I like
maybe he needed a better view.
I like sitting more in the middle anyway because I don't like seeing the shit from the side. Wait, hang on. Every step along the way that I need to is coming out. Hang on, I did it again. Anyway, so I got to pause. It's just a language. I don't know why there's so many different, too many innuendos in everything that we say. But anyway,
playing yourself.
So I know, right? So we watch the whole movie, okay? And I'm not even thinking anything. Like it's like there's finally this spot where it's kind of like a lull, and I know I remember the old movies or whatever. So I'm like, all right, let me go. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I go to the bathroom and like I'm finishing up pissing. I go to wash my hands, and here comes dude like walking into the bathroom, and I just like washed my hands and sat back in my seat. He comes back. He sits even closer to me. I'm like, yo, something's up here. The fuck is going on?
I would have think I was going to get mugged.
Right. I'm about to get. Well, all right. So yeah. So I'm like, I can't wait for this fucking movie to be over so I can get the hell out of here. But I don't want to I want it to seem as though I'm as clueless as I can be, even though my head's on a swivel. Because the one thing you want to do, situational awareness, is part of it is being situationally aware, but not letting anybody know that you are. Like you have to be like, sure. Oh, okay, well, like let them show their hand.
Just play dumb as long as possible.
Hang on. But let them show their hand before I show mine. Shit. You know what I'm saying?
At least you weren't showing your ass.
I don't want to give anything away early. Again. So anyway, this is like the most pause-worthy story I've ever told in my life. Anyway, so the movie ends. I go to leave, and the dude like is following me, and like kind of like like kind of sidling up, like he wants to talk to me or something. And so he like walks ahead of me a little bit, and I'm like, this dude's gonna try to like cut me off. So I just stopped, and I'm just like looking at movie posters, and I'm like, oh, this is an interesting one. That one comes out in October. Oh, okay. Oh, this one comes out in December. That'll be interesting. Christmas movie to watch or whatever. And I, at the corner of my eye, I see him. He's just like hanging, just standing over there, like kind of waiting. And I'm like, you know what? Hang on. I got all night. I'm not walking over there. I'm gonna stay over here by these posters until this motherfucker leaves. So he wouldn't leave. Finally, eventually, I waited him out long enough. He left, but it's in a mall. So I'm like, all right, I don't know which way he's going. It's not like I'm just walking out the theater or whatever. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna wait until he goes far enough away, whatever. So then I start walking, and I was actually looking for a book. I wanted to find a book on like Java code and stuff. So I'm looking for that, and so I'm walking around, and the GPS is telling me where this bookstore is that's in the mall. Well, just so happens this bookstore is no longer in the mall. They closed it like 6 months ago or whatever, and so I'm on a fool's errand. Well, I'm walking around. This motherfucker is like following me from like a store or two behind me, and I'm just like, yo, what the hell, right? So I like turn around by some kiosks and start walking the other way, and then I see like he's still like tracking me or whatever. What the? I was like, all right, well, I gotta like, it's got to be one of those things where you like switch it up. You gotta switch it up, you gotta switch it up real quick or whatever. Well, anyway, I turn around, the dude is right behind me, and he goes, well, hello. I'm like, nah, bro. And I just took off. I don't remember what I said. I was like, what the fuck? And I just kept walking. So now I'm like high stepping it. I'm hauling ass to my car.
Running from this motherfucker.
I'm good. And I know like I got the key fob in my hand. I'm ready to go. And I know I have hang on. I have an 18-inch pipe wrench in the back on the back floorboard and a 14-inch pipe wrenches. Okay. But anyway, if this dude tries to jump me, he's getting the shit beat out of him. And I'm ready. Like that's all I had. Like I was like, all right, this is the weapon. So anyway, unlock my car. I go straight to the back door. I go, poof, poof. He's nowhere to be found. I'm like, all right. I stayed holding on to that damn pipe wrench up. I closed the door. I jumped in the car, started up. I'm gone. Like I never seen or heard of the dude since. But
Chad never went to the mall without a firearm again.
Bro. I never went to see a damn Greek tragedy or whatever the hell ever again. Oh my God, bro. It was the worst.
Oh, you are somebody's
my face hurts.
Hit list, Chad.
Yo, it was bad.
Oh, he is a hit list, all right. He is on his list to get hit.
First day of being a gay assassin.
So I started thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? It was like 4 other people in that theater. They were all dudes. That might have been like the meetup. I don't know. Like that, like I just walked into like a grinder meetup or some shit. And I didn't even know. Oh my God.
That's
hang on. I can't say those words and not those. For those of you who are listening to this on Apple Podcasts or any other of the audio
lots
only
of pause
version,
buttons up.
I have pushed the pause button at least 15, maybe 25 times during this story because it is that worthy. I apologize for all the pause-worthy things I said, but listen. No, it was not the Blue Oyster. It was like a Cinemark or some shit. It was nothing, but I felt like a Cinemark. That's for sure. Because it was.
I see now he's deflecting to me.
Yeah, that wasn't the
man.
Yeah. So it wasn't as bad as going to a gay bar and not knowing.
Hey, now I've been looking at you.
Not knowing where I was. Like
right.
I went to the movies. Like it's supposed to be just like a normal place. For, like I shouldn't expect that. You went to a gay bar and you got set up and didn't know it.
And to be but I don't think about that's the thing. I don't think about it. I don't.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, I was like, I don't care if somebody's gay, and I don't put that shit together. I don't think about it.
No, me neither.
Yeah.
And the last thing I think is like, look, dude, I don't even. I've had people tell me they're like, "Yo, that chick wants you," and I'm like, "What?" Like, I'm not even paying attention. Like, I'm married. Like, I got a ring on. Like, what? And they're like, "Oh yeah, that's even worse. Like, they want you even more." I'm like, "What? This is."
Yeah.
I'm so removed from like the game that I don't even like recognize the shit. So, but you went to a gay bar, bro. Like that's
I've been to that same gay bar like 10 times.
I know, but you should have known.
Motherfucker with the dance.
You should have known. You should have known. Like when you're like, yo, like, oh, all right. So Jimmy's gay. All right. Well, that's cool. But
yeah,
you totally didn't pick up what he was putting down.
I didn't either. And they to this day, come on, Chad, fucking Scott was there. To this day, motherfuckers are making fun of me for that shit.
You deserve it, bro.
I know.
You earned that. You gotta wear it. Look, people still make fun of me for that thing. People will be like, "Yo, you seen Wrath of the Titans recently?"
Right,
like,
right.
you, man.
Right. Next time they have some Greek movie out, Nicco and I are gonna be like, "Hey, Chad, we saw this movie. You gotta check it out.
You want to go see?
You might want to
go see
gun.
Alexander?" Like, no, I don't. That shit was gay as hell too, man. But that one was legit. Like they actually had some stuff in that one.
The worst one though, with all of that, and again, I don't care if somebody's gay, but the worst one was that fucking Immortals movie. All that was.
Oh yeah.
It was 3D dudes walking around half naked. That's what that whole movie was.
Yeah, that was a weird one. Yeah.
Because Amber and I, early on in our relationship, went and watched that, and it was awful.
It was bad. That one and was it I Frankenstein, where it was terrible too. Now that one wasn't like homoerotic or anything like that, but it was bad. It was one of those ones where it's like, oh, that's interesting, and then you're like 5 minutes into, you're like, oh, they spent $3 on this. Okay, I don't think I want to watch this. So, like, they shot this in an afternoon. Okay,
nice.
They're like, that's good enough. Move on to scene 3. What?
Yeah,
that guy didn't even say his lines right.
Right. All right. Well, this has been fun, and all the pause-worthy end of this.
Hey, everybody, just make sure that you know what theater you're going to, and you make sure you know what bar you're going to.
Right,
because
for sure.
Who knows? Chad might have been on the new and improved casting couch, but the movie theater edition. So I was that we are paying attention to our surroundings now, ladies and gentlemen. That's the biggest.
Sure.
That's the biggest lesson from this episode is surroundings.
Right. Pay attention to what's
Look,
going
man,
on.
I walked into that theater. I walked into that theater like I was fucking Goodwill Hunting. I walked out of that bitch like Jason Bourne. I was ready to fuck somebody up, and I was like watching everything. I was like, all right, that guy looks like he's 3.7 seconds away from me. This guy, I was like doing calculations in my head and everything. And I walked into there like I was just like, nah, man, it's cool. I just want to mop the floors. And when I walked out of there, no, bro, I was ready to go to rumble with the CIA and the FBI.
That's funny. All right. Well, this has been fun. To wrap up, again, what you need to do is do everything that you can to defend yourself against those who are trying to take advantage.
Me and Marcus, we had to do whatever we could do to defend our freedom, bro. I'm glad you brought it full circle, Marcus. That was good.
Talent, man, talent. All right, guys. Thank you for enjoying the end of this video. If you made it this far, you're a champ. because I don't know, man. That shit would scare the hell out of me. It is what it is.
Look, I'm looking at the videos that we can play as the outro or whatever. I'm tempted to play Land of Confusion. That's the last one. Oh, God. Oh, I haven't had this fun in a while. Thank y'all. Holy cow, man. Sometimes you just got to have fun at your own expense so you can have fun at all.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
it's been one of those months.
That is a necessity.
I appreciate y'all though.
Same.
This was fun. I enjoyed this, gentlemen. This was a very funny episode because this went all the way left. This took a fat ass left turn, but you know it's necessary. You know, sometimes these little tangents are necessary to keep the light going, keep the love and light going in the right places, the right times.
Right. That's right.
All right. Well, everybody, stay free.
Peace, y'all.